At some point, probably every video maker will run into this problem.
Well, 2 TB of storage are just not enough, so let's add another 8. So the blower build project that I announced won't happen right now because I had to order a couple sheets of plywood for that and they are not delivered yet. I really often get the question where I buy my plywood, and I never go to the hardware store anymore. I always order a full sheet at a carpentry, and there I pay the real price, which is about a third of the one that I would have to pay in the hardware store. And so a full sheet of 50mm birch plywood costs around 50 euros now, and that's quite reasonable. So for now this will be stored out of the way. But of course there are some other projects on my to-do list, so maybe 1 or 2 before the blower build. And one of them is of course the cleaning up of my latest cutting board project. If you haven't seen that already, you can watch it here, and I really recommend to do so. You won't regret it, trust me. Of course I won't get rid of that because that could be made into a small cutting board, and this could be some small inlay work. This is already a pretty much finished glued up cutting board, all in grain, but it has some serious cracks, so that would also be useful for inlay. And of course the big leftover inlay. Oh shit. That is rust. Probably all of you already know that, but never store glued up pieces on your cast iron tabletop. And if you haven't already, you can facepalm right now.
I actually had to wet sand the whole tabletop to get rid of all the rust.
Well, you can still see it, but at least it's flat and smooth again, so it'll do for now. Now for a little bit of context, otherwise what follows next wouldn't make that much sense. I play badminton, and every year we organize a badminton tournament, and this year I made 7 cutting boards as special prizes. Now on our badminton tournament, besides these special cutting board prizes, everybody also got one of these, small box for some shuttlecocks, and we made these by cutting one of the big ones in half and gluing the stuff onto it, but that ended up with not having enough caps, so everybody got this with just 1 cap. Of course I could just use the one from another roll, but I think it will be much nicer if I turn them myself out of some segmented rings. And the wood I can use for that are actually offcuts from the cutting board project, and this piece of walnut is still big enough, and this piece of maple. I just joined the 2 faces straight, and for cutting segments that's all I need. And I also got my planer blades just sharpened, and man, I should have done that earlier because this surface now is so much better than before. Oh, and by the way, I hate having no dust collection. The diameter of the roll is about 68, and to be able to turn the ring to the right size, I think I'll start with a diameter of, well, 75. Now the question again is, how big do I need to make the segments so that they will make a ring that size? In another video I already demonstrated how you would calculate that by hand, but I don't want to do that again, so instead I wrote a little program with Excel, and with that it's much easier and much quicker.
And this is how it looks like. Here I can choose how many segments I want to have, in this case 12. You can then see a preview and the cut angle. Next I need to type in my 75mm diameter. With that the outer segment size gets calculated, and with that information I could already stop there and start cutting. But I also need the ring to be close, therefore the stock width needs to be at least half the diameter or more. The program then also tells me that I will end up with a closed ring. Now I can also type in the saw curve, and the program will calculate the minimum and recommended stock length that's required. The recommended stock length depends on the safety length, which is how much material needs to be left to safely cut segments on the table saw. Once I typed everything in, I can add it to the cut list, print it out and take it into the shop with me.
So the cut list tells me that for a ring with 12 segments, a outer diameter of 75mm being a closed ring, I need a stock width of 37.5mm or bigger, and I cut mine to 38. The cut angle needs to be 15 degrees, or in my case, when you're using a wedgie sled, you need 30 degrees. And the segment size, the outer segment size, needs to be 20.1mm. And that's all you need to know. The program can do a lot more, but it's not quite finished yet, but should be soon. And once it is, I'll also show all the features in more detail. And setting the fence to 20.1, about here, maybe a little bit bigger. Now setting up the sled for 12 segments. Alright, now I'm ready to cut.
With the wedgie sled, once everything is set up, cutting the segments is quick, accurate and safe. I also have a video about how I build it, and there's a link in the top right corner of the video.
Already now you can tell that this just looks awesome. So let's check the size. 77. And as I said, I set the stop a little bigger, and it has 20.7 instead of 20.1. So, well, bigger is better in that case. Gluing this together is a little difficult because I need to make sure that all the points meet exactly in the center, and I only have one hose clamp that size, so well, I think if I double up these rubber bands, that should do. Alright, the glue is dry, but unfortunately I can't grab them with the chuck yet, so I first have to turn it down a little bit between centers.
First I made sure that I would have a snug fit on the roll.
Alright, now the fit is pretty much perfect. Next I need to hollow it out a little bit so that the head of the ball can fit into it like with the original cap.
And of course a little bit of sanding.
Now I can reverse mount it and finish the other side. Okay, both are finished and as you can see fit pretty good, and you can also hear it. That's a satisfying noise. And I'll finish them with some oil to highlight the colors. So now that's an upgrade, isn't it? The other day I was looking through my small part storage drawers and noticed that I have a serious rust issue. So for example, this hose clamp got a rust victim, this one as well. I don't really care much about those, but some of my bearings also started to rust. At least these ones are still sealed. And there's more stuff that has to go. A lot of these are rusted. Wow, these ones are in a really bad shape. I don't think I can save them. All these screws rusted away. Yeah, pretty much everything that has no coating or isn't stainless. Now the problem always is that in summertime we have more humid air in the house, and I should have known that. In wintertime when we heat with our stove, then we almost always have dry air and sometimes also have to add humidity to the air. But for now I need to get that humidity out of the air, so I already let our dehumidifier run for the day. And this is a result of just half a day. Wow, that's a lot of water. With this much water, no wonder why everything started to rust. At least none of my cast iron tabletop surfaces have been affected. But I guess that's a common problem in basement workshops. I need stock width of 37.5 or... Oh shit. Now a little bit of context, otherwise what comes next won't make that much sense. Yeah.